The alarm shrieked through Research Station Kepler 9, a bone-chilling wail that sent every scientist scrambling. In the xenobiology wing, panic erupted like wildfire. The Varkesh cubs, 3 of them, had vanished from their reinforced habitat. Commander Threll, the station's Varkesh liaison, burst through the laboratory doors with a fury that made the air itself seem to tremble. His species hadn't earned their reputation as the galaxy's apex predators through mercy. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, covered in obsidian scales that gleamed like polished armor, with eyes that glowed an eerie amber, Threll embodied every nightmare humanity had encountered among the stars. "Where are my younglings?" His roar rattled the equipment. Claws that could shred titanium scraped against the doorframe, leaving deep gouges. Dr. Alara Quinn stood her ground, though her heart hammered against her ribs. 5 years studying xenobiology across 12 systems had taught her that showing fear to predator species only made things worse. She met Threll's burning gaze steadily. "Commander, we're searching every sector. The habitat lock wasn't breached. There's no sign of forced entry." "Impossible." Threll's tail whipped violently, shattering a nearby glass partition. "Nothing enters or leaves without triggering sensors. Unless—" his eyes narrowed dangerously. "Unless someone disabled them. Someone with access." The implication hung heavy in the recycled air. Every human on the station suddenly became a suspect. Alara knew what Varkesh did to those who threatened their young. Entire colonies had been reduced to ash for lesser offenses. "I'll find them," Alara said quietly. "You have my word." "Your word means nothing if my cubs are harmed, human." But Threll stepped back, allowing her to pass. His restraint spoke volumes. He was terrified, despite the violence simmering beneath his scales. Alara moved through the station with methodical precision, her scanner sweeping for the cubs' unique biosignatures. The Varkesh young weren't just dangerous by proxy of their parentage. Even at 3 months old, they possessed retractable claws, accelerated healing, and instincts honed by millions of years of evolution. They were survivors born ready for a hostile universe. The search led her away from the main sectors down into the older residential wings scheduled for decommissioning. The scanner chirped insistently near Habitat Module 7, her own quarters. Alara's breath caught. She hadn't been back to her room since the previous shift. The door slid open with a soft hiss. The sight that greeted her defied every protocol, every safety regulation, and every assumption about human-Varkesh relations. 3 Varkesh cubs, each the size of a large dog, covered in scales that shimmered between midnight blue and silver, lay sprawled across her chest. Alara had fallen asleep at her desk while reviewing genetic sequencing data, and at some point the cubs had found their way inside. Now they slept peacefully, their small bodies rising and falling with each breath. Tiny rumbling purrs emanating from their throats. Rin, the eldest at 4 months and noticeably larger than his siblings, had positioned himself directly over Alara's heart. His small claws, each one capable of piercing Kevlar, rested gently against her arm, retracted and harmless. The younger 2 had curled against her sides, seeking warmth. Alara remained perfectly still, her mind racing. The cubs shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be calm. Every xenobiological study confirmed that Varkesh young were aggressive toward unfamiliar species, especially potential threats. Yet here they were, treating her like a nest. She noticed something else. The datapad beneath her hand still displayed her research. For weeks she'd been analyzing Varkesh biochemistry, specifically their parental bonding mechanisms. She'd theorized that Varkesh cubs responded not to visual or pheromonal cues alone, but to something deeper. Cardiac rhythms, electromagnetic fields, patterns that transcended species barriers. Her heart rate had been elevated from stress and exhaustion when she'd collapsed at her desk. The same rhythm, she realized, that Varkesh mothers maintained when calling their young during hunts. Rin stirred, one amber eye opening to regard her. For a moment, human and predator cubs simply observed each other. Then, impossibly, Rin chirped, a sound of contentment, and nuzzled closer. The door exploded inward. Threll filled the frame, flanked by security personnel with weapons raised. His expression cycled through shock, rage, and something that might have been wonder. "Don't move," Alara whispered, unsure if she was speaking to Threll or the cubs. "Please, they're safe." Threll's claws flexed. Every instinct screamed at him to tear the human apart for daring to touch his offspring. But the cubs, they were purring. Rin lifted his head and chirped again, this time toward his father, a clear message. "Safe. Warm. Good. Explain, Threll growled, though the fury had drained from his voice. Now. Ilara spoke slowly, careful not to disturb the sleeping cubs. They found me while I was sleeping. I think they were drawn to my cardiac rhythm. It must have mimicked distress signals similar to Varkesh maternal patterns. Cubs seek out those patterns when they're scared or lost. That's impossible. Varkesh young attack unknown species, unless they recognize something familiar. Ilara gestured carefully to her research. Humans and Varkesh are more similar than we thought, Commander. Not genetically, but here. She touched her chest. In the rhythms that define us. Fear, protection, care. They transcend translation. Threll moved closer, his massive form tense with barely controlled emotion. He could kill her in seconds, but instead he knelt beside the desk. His clawed hand, so gentle it seemed impossible, stroked Rin's scales. The cub chirped again, tail curling contentedly. My mate died during their birthing, Threll said quietly. I've raised them alone. They've been unsettled, searching for something I couldn't provide. He looked at Ilara, and she saw past the predator to the father beneath. They found comfort in you, human. My cubs chose you. The weight of those words settled over the room. In Varkesh culture, a cub's choice of protector was sacred, overriding even parental authority. Dr. Quinn, Threll continued, his voice formal now. My people owe you a debt. You didn't capture my young. You sheltered them. Ilara smiled softly, watching Rin's peaceful face. I think they sheltered me too, Commander. We all need someone to hold on to in the dark. As station security stood down and the crisis dissolved into relief, Ilara understood something profound. Humanity's place among the stars wouldn't be won through superior weapons or faster ships. It would be won through moments like this. Impossible, illogical. Beautiful moments where different species recognized the same heartbeat. Rin purred louder, and Ilara let herself finally relax, one hand resting gently on the cub's warm scales. In the cold mathematics of the cosmos, compassion was humanity's greatest anomaly, and perhaps their greatest strength.